Hi, and welcome to today's Zinc Answers webcast. My name is Nicole Sanders, and I'll be moderating today's event. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. Today's event is the first in a series of webcasts that we're hosting throughout the summer called Zinc Answers, and our goal really is to provide a quick overview of how Zinc can help your organization. But we'll primarily be focusing on showing you how Zinc works, and hopefully you'll get a good visual understanding of how this could actually work in your organization and help provide the answers that your team is likely in search of. So I have with me here today in our office, Edward Saavedra, and he'll be guiding us through the presentation and doing a demonstration of Zinc. So I'll turn it over to Edward to get us started.
Thanks, Nicole. All right. Again, my name is Edward. I'm a solutions engineer here at Zinc, and I'll be walking you through the product today, looking at the theme of instant answers. So when you think about your techs in the field, one of the things that's universally going to impact their ability to achieve success on a job site is their ability to get answers quickly. So whether they are servicing consumer telecommunications equipment or working on large capital equipment, their ability to get an answer from their peers or supervisor is going to dictate whether or not they can solve a problem on site quickly and successfully. So today we'll be looking at how real-time communication can enable your techs out in the field to get answers that they do not know themselves. So we'll be looking at a few different use cases here. First, we'll be looking at a junior technician who's received classroom training but is just weeks onto the job. And we'll be looking at how they can get answers from their supervisor by sending a quick text message to ask a question, using a photo to give a little bit more context, and then hopping into a video call to really dive deep into a problem with a supervisor who can't be on site with them. Next, we'll be looking at how you can leverage group communication to bring together the right people to help answer questions for each other. So we'll see how they can use the same kind of text communication to ask questions of each other and deliver answers, but also bring that into a real-time conversation through a group call, and then enable and facilitate equipment swapping and other location-based activities through location sharing. We'll finish up showing large-scale team communication for a particular region by showing how answers can be delivered at scale through broadcasts in Zinc, and how they can be discussed quickly in a real-time manner through push-to-talk. So let's dive into the demo and walk through how these use cases actually play out within Zinc. So this is the Zinc application. And this is where all of these questions are going to be asked and answers will be delivered. Now, if you've ever used a consumer application for communication, this is going to look really familiar to you. So we're taking this kind of easy to use interface and bringing it into a business application. So when you give this to your techs, it's going to be really easy for them to dive in and start asking questions. So there's no steep learning curve here. This isn't a big heavy duty application that's going to be difficult for them to figure out. This is something that they can pull out when they're on the job, and they can just jump in and use it easily. So let's say I'm a junior tech, and I'm on site. I'm dealing with an AC unit that's completely busted. So I work for an HVAC company, and I've encountered some simple problems and been able to solve them based on my training, but this is a particular device that I've just never worked with before, and it's a problem that I've never encountered. So I know I'm going to need to lean on my management to get the experience that I'll need to fix this. So what I'm going to do is I will tap on this small plus button here to start a new conversation. Now from here I've got access to all the different modes of communication that Zinc encapsulates. So whether I need to send off a message, jump into push to talk, or even start a video or voice call, I'll be able to do that from this one button. For now, I'll start off with a message. Now I'm going to send a message to my supervisor, Brandy Pillars. I'll tap on her name. This is a suggested person since this is someone I need to reach out to quite often. And I'll send in a quick message. Having trouble with one of the new AC units? You available to help? Now I can see when Brandy was active, and I can know that she was active 32 minutes ago. Maybe she won't be able to get to me right away. It gives me some information that will allow me to know when I can get this question answered. Now, once Brandy responds to me, I'll be able to start diagnosing the problem with her. So I can text back and forth and try to describe the problem. But what Zinc will allow me to do is actually bring in more context by using different types of media and different modes of communication. So if you've ever tried to describe a complex technical problem through words or even over the phone, you know that that can be really tough when you're looking at something and, like they say, a picture tells 1,000 words. So rather than trying to type this out, I'm actually going to send in a photo of what I'm seeing. So I'll tap on my camera roll here, and I'll send in a photo of the damaged unit that I'm working on. I can send in some more detailed photos to make sure that she's really got a good idea of what we're looking at here. Now, maybe that's enough. Maybe for some of the situations that your techs encounter, this will give enough information to allow for a diagnosis of the problem, and I can just get it fixed. Sometimes that's not going to be sufficient. Now, for those cases when sending a picture just isn't enough, we offer different, more live modes of communication that you can jump into. Now, rather than having to switch out to another application to make a phone call, I'm actually going to jump into a video call right from within this conversation. So you'll see I have a few different icons here in the upper right-hand side of my screen where I can jump into live modes of communication. And I'm actually going to tap on this video icon. This will allow me to jump into a FaceTime-style video call. Now with this, I'll be able to communicate face-to-face with my supervisor, but I'll also be able to switch the camera around and show my supervisor what I'm seeing live. So they can actually help me out diagnosing this problem just as if they were here on site looking over my shoulder. Now this type of live communication allows you to really connect those techs who are a little bit isolated out in the field and give them access to both their supervisors and their peers to help them diagnose problems on the spot. And this is one of the fastest ways to get from a question to an answer within Zinc. So again, you just saw that escalation from text to photos to a video call based on the complexity of the scenario. Now, of course, sometimes your manager or your supervisor might not be available. And in those cases, you want to leverage the group knowledge and your peers that you have across the team. You might have a number of different peers in your area or on your team who have plenty of experience dealing with the kinds of problems that you're encountering on a job site. Now, for example, let's look at dealing with a machine that won't start up. Now, I can't reach my manager right now. I know that they're on a call. And so I'm actually going to jump into a official group that's been set up by my organization to bring together subject matter experts and the people who need access to them. So I'm going to jump into the Southeast Field Service team. Now, in this group, I have access to the same types of communication that we saw in the one-to-one group. I can send photos, I can send messages, and we can do a number of live forms of communication as well. So to start with, I'll just let everybody who's in the group know that I'm having a problem. So I'm going to send in that question, and as people see the message, I'll be able to see who's actually seeing the message, and I'll start getting an idea of who I have access to actually help me out with this question. Now, I could send in a photo too to provide context, but what we can actually do is jump right into a more live mode of communication, such as a call. Now, if you've ever tried to manage a group call from a traditional conference calling system, you know that if you're a field tech and you're working just from your mobile device, that's really tough. You've got to manage conference numbers and dial-in codes and all those other kind of tricky, fiddly pieces that are required to get onto just a simple call. Now, with Zinc, we're going to streamline that so you can get faster to the conversation with your peers. So let's say I get a couple of responses here, and we just want to jump onto a live call so I can discuss this with a few of my more senior peers on the team. To do so, I'm going to tap on this phone button, and it's going to bring up the group calling interface in Zinc. Now, rather than having to deal with all those conference codes and dial-in numbers, I'm actually just going to tap Start Call, and it's going to bring me into a VoIP call that anyone in that group can join. So they'll all get a quick alert that says, hey, there's a conference call starting in this group. You're invited to join. And they'll be able to tap one button to join in. Now, this can be anybody who's in this group. So whether they're on their phone, sitting at their desk at their home office maybe, or even working from a device that only has a Wi-Fi connection, they'll be able to hop into this call and participate and share their knowledge. So this means that we're bridging across devices and across contexts to make sure that we can get everybody's knowledge together. Now, let's say we talk through this and we arrive at the conclusion that I'm actually missing a key component that I need to get this piece of equipment to start up. Now, I could take a couple hours and drive back to the main warehouse to go pick up a new component. I don't have an extra one in my truck, unfortunately. But there's a good chance that someone in the region probably has a spare on them, and it's going to be a lot faster for them to come out and swap parts with me. So I could go and I could just send out a message and say, hey, anybody in the area, and I could describe my location. But what we're actually going to do within Zinc is share a location to make this even simpler. So along the bottom bar of tools where we sent a photo from, there's also a location pin option. I'll tap on that and I'll click send, and it's going to automatically send my location pin into the group. Now, the really convenient thing about this is that anybody in that group can now tap on that to get instant directions to my location. So if there is somebody who's in the region and who can actually get to me and drop off a part that they have in their truck, they're going to be able to do that really easily. And they can respond right in that group and let everybody else know that they've got me covered. So this is a great way to get answers and then actually action on those answers within a group context with the people who need access to this. And again, I did not have to know everybody who's in the region to be able to ask this question. I didn't have to go and check my directory and find out, who's on the team, what are their phone numbers. I didn't have to send out an email with an invite to a conference call. All I had to do was tap one button to jump onto a call with everyone, and then another button to send out my location. So we're streamlining the process of getting from a question to answers to results. So far we've seen one-on-one communication, how you can use Zinc to go from a quick text to a video call. You've seen how this can work in a group context by sharing things like location, jumping into a group phone call. Now there's another way to get answers out at scale to a team. Now let's say that you've discovered that there's a problem and you need to make sure that all your techs know about it. Maybe there's a recall happening on a particular component or device. Now, I could start a group with everyone and just start chatting there. I could try to get everybody on a call, but I actually really want to make sure that this is a high priority announcement that gets out in front of everybody as quickly as possible. Now to do that, I'm actually going to use something called broadcasts. Now this is another mode within Zinc that's actually going to allow me to send out a important high priority message. Now, I've just jumped into the Zinc admin console where I'll be sending this broadcast from, and I've got a pre-composed message here that I've set up. Now I'm announcing that there is a faulty component. I'm alerting everyone about that, and I've got a quick description of what they need to be looking out for, along with a link to further information about the recall. Now I'm sending this to the Southeast Field Service team that you saw there in the previous use case, but I can also send this to any mixture of individuals or groups that I have set up. So whether I'm sending this to a particular region or a particular line of business, this is going to allow me to get a message out in a similar way that I would to an email distribution list, for example. Now I'm going to see an example of what this will look like along the right-hand side here. And let's send this off. Now, the key thing about broadcasts is that they're going to look really different than any other type of message. So rather than just being another message in a stream of text, in a chat, this is going to actually just pop up over my screen. It's going to look really different than any other message. It's going to be clearly much more higher priority than an email that I get in my inbox, for example. And it's actually going to lock me out of the rest of the application until I do something to acknowledge it. So if I get this broadcast message and I'm tapping around here to get back into the app and I'm tapping around here, nothing's going to happen until I actually do something to acknowledge that I've received the message. So I can click through and I can see more information about the recall with this link, or I can X out of the message here. For now, I'll X out of it so I can get back into my conversations. Now, if I need to go back and refer to this message, if I've got a question later about the recall and I need to get back there and see, oh, what was the part that was broken, I can tap on my broadcast feed here and I can actually see all of the different broadcasts that I've received that are still relevant. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than email because this will only be the relevant messages for me. So if there's a message that was sent out about a particular event that was last Friday and that's no longer relevant, that's actually going to disappear from my broadcast feed by expiring. Now, if I'm looking for an answer and I know that this information's been sent out, this means that I can scroll through here really quickly and get to the right information without having to dig through spam or vendor messages in your email or long email chains or announcements that are no longer relevant. So it makes it a lot faster to get to the information that you need when you need it. Now, when you're an organization that needs to be able to push out this information and make sure that your employees have the answers that they need, this is also going to give you the accountability and information about what's happening to this information when you push it out to the field. So you'll be able to actually see who's seen the information, who has these answers, and who's actually clicked through and interacted with the information that you sent. You can see this at a top-level view, or you can even see individual by individual exactly what they've done with that message and when they've done it. So it gives you a lot of flexibility and accountability as an organization to push out information. Now, of course, as a technician out in the field, once I've got new information, a lot of the time I'm going to need to do something with that information. Maybe I'll need to change my schedule around for the day so I can actually have time to go back to the warehouse and pick up a new part. Maybe I'll need to try to connect with my supervisor to get some clarification on a question that I have around this. Now, one of the ways that you can do this once you've got this information is that you can jump into another form of communication, another mode called push to talk. So let's go back to my conversations here and jump back into the field service team for the Southeast region. Now, jumping on a call sometimes is a good way to have a live conversation, but sometimes I just want to send back and forth a few quick voice messages. And if you've ever used radio or walkie-talkie, you know that this can, in some circumstances, be a really good way to share information. You can do that now right within Zinc in the context of these conversations and groups. So back at the top right here, I'm actually going to tap on this small push-to-talk icon, and that's going to bring up push-to-talk mode within Zinc. Now, this will give me some walkie-talkie style buttons that I can use to actually send messages live back and forth with my team. I can see who's online, and it will actually send out an invitation to everybody in the group to join me in push-to-talk mode. And once I'm here, sending out a message is as easy as tapping and holding on that push-to-talk icon. I can send this out, and everybody in the group is going to receive that live message streamed through to their devices, even if they have the application closed or in their pocket. So this becomes a really good way to ask quick questions, get fast answers, and do all of this communication in a really real-time way. So that's another way that your techs can get answers in the field. So again, we've looked at text messaging, sharing pictures and locations, jumping onto voice and video calls, pushing out broadcasts, and communicating over push-to-talk. Now, there are a number of other modes encompassed in Zinc, but these are some of the ones that you can use in the field to really quickly just find out how you can resolve an issue on site. Now, the Zinc application encompasses all of these different modes and much more. So to give you a quick picture of a little bit more of what this is all about, again, you've got your messaging component, you've got that live voice and video component, and you've got the ability to push out information through broadcasts. Now, because you have this all in one single application, you can start performing analytics on this communication, and you can see data about every bit of communication that's happening across your organization. So as your technicians are asking questions and getting answers, you'll be able to start seeing trends in communication, seeing who has the most questions, which groups are communicating most effectively, where you have themes and topics that are getting discussed a lot, and it's going to allow you to actually action on that information that previously would have been invisible to you. And this is all provided through the analytics engine in the admin console. Now, of course, this is built on a securely administered platform, so you're going to be able to actually control this at a top-level view, so you can add and remove users, you can make sure that those users have access to the right groups, so that you can provision these things and make sure that as soon as someone joins your organization, they're going to have access to the colleagues and to the information that they need when they're out in the field. And of course, this is built on a secure and scalable platform that is designed for use in the enterprise context. So we've got all of the security protocols in place and certifications that allow for usage across all types of industries. And of course, this is going to be scalable for organizations of any size. Now, as a technician or as a employee in the back office, you're going to be able to ask and provide answers to questions no matter what device you're working from. So this is available across platforms ranging from Android and iPhone devices to desktop platforms and even on the web. Now there's a lot more to this, so go ahead and contact us to find out more about all these different features in detail. This is just a quick sketch of the top level features that people use on a really frequent basis. Now, just want to review the key takeaways from what you've seen today. To be able to solve an issue on site as a technician and be able to make sure that you've got a satisfied customer and good solid KPIs as a service organization, you have to be able to provide answers to your technicians to make sure that they can solve even the problems that they've never encountered before. Now, to do this, you have to give them a communication platform that is real time. They have to be able to get these answers immediately rather than waiting for a call center to answer their phone or waiting for someone to answer an email an hour later. They need to be able to get these responses and messages within minutes or even seconds. Now, you have to give them something as well that's intuitive, that you can put this in their pocket, they can jump in and start using immediately on day one, because they're going to have questions that need answers right from the start. And of course, you need to do this in a way that's going to avoid information overload. And Zinc is going to allow you to do that by controlling the groups that people have access to, so they're only included in the groups that are relevant to them, and by keeping the information that you push out from your organization clean and organized. So you're going to have a lot more control than just a cluttered email inbox that someone might have. And of course, it needs to be all mode, because the circumstances that your techs are dealing with are going to be varied, and they need to be able to respond to those different circumstances with an appropriate mode of communication, whether that's something simple like a text message or something a little bit more complex in real time, like a video call. And of course, this needs to be secure and scalable so that you can rely on the information that you're sending across a communication platform being safe and secure. And of course, this needs to be able to be used across your entire organization or small pockets, whatever your situation dictates. Now, Zinc is going to pull all of this together in that real-time, easy-to-use platform, and it's going to give your technicians the answers that they need as soon as they need them.
Great. Thank you so much, Edward, and thanks to everyone for being on our webinar today. That does conclude today's webcast. We do have more of these scheduled throughout the summer months. The next one is on August 9th, and certainly invite your colleagues. You can attend another one yourself if you want to see it in a slightly different light. You can register for those events by going to zinc.it and visiting our events page. So thanks again for joining us today, and look forward to talking to you in the near future. Have a great afternoon.